my mouth could get me into trouble just as much as it could save me, right? So there's many a time I've been grabbed by the collar and pulled off the show floor at InfoCom by one of my coworkers said, "Hey, I think it's time to go for a walk."
You're listening to the AV IT Amplifier. Each week, we'll feature voices and ideas that need to be amplified in the higher education and pro AV IT communities. This show is brought to you by higheredav.com. And now here's your host, Ryan Gray.
And hello again to everybody. Thank you for tuning in to the AV-IT Amplifier. As always, I am Ryan Gray. I am your host, and we have the privilege of returning for week 2 with my friend, and now your friend, Mr. Frank Alaimo of UNLV. Frank, would you please remind everybody, who are you and what do you do?
I am Frank Alaimo, and I am the manager of Classroom Technology Services here at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas.
Cool. And yeah, if you missed last week's episode, make sure you pick that one up because we get a good look through sort of where Frank's at in his career and some insight into like some really cool management insight that I really like. So thank you for sharing that with us. And I hope you're buckled up now for kind of the most intense questionnaire in the podcast space. We're going to go, we're going to do it. But first, you said something in the first episode that I made a little note of that I thought was interesting, which is when you and your wife said, let's look at Las Vegas. We want to go out that way. A job comes up at UNLV. And you mentioned the first one I didn't get, but then the second one I did. And I think there are people out there that like going after a job and not getting it can be a difficult thing, to the point that a lot of people like won't pursue opportunities just for fear of rejection or something like that. So I'm just curious, that experience, like what was it? What was the experience of first not getting something and then having it come around? What was that like, and why not take no for an answer the first time and see if you could get a different answer the second time?
Yeah, the first one was really close to what I was doing at the casino when I left the casino, or I was actually at the casino when I applied for the job. It was in the event area. So the student union here, they do all their own events on campus. The student union event services are not under my purview. So they have their own AV team that does that over there, which is exactly what I was doing at the casino. So that's why I thought it would have been a natural lock, a natural fit.
Right.
So they flew me out. Came to campus, full 8-hour interview throughout the day. You have to give demonstrations. You have to set tech up.
Yeah.
We interview with clients and different people from around campus. I mean, it's a gauntlet.
It was the full thing.
It was 8 hours. I mean, it was exhausting, right? So I was like, all right, but I got done with it though. And I went on, actually, the gentleman who was going to hire, who was doing the hiring, we got in his car and he drove me around town. And he's just like, this is where your town I live in, and this is what's over here, and this what's over here. So, you're thinking in your head, oh, yeah, it's a lock, right? That guy's taking me around town. He's showing me where he lives and all.
Right. You're going to take that amount of time if it's not. Yeah.
Right. So sure enough, get back to the hotel. They send me, I go home. 2 weeks later, I get a phone call. I didn't get the job. So I was like, okay, no big deal. So I tell my wife, I didn't get the job. But she says to me, she goes, but what did you think about the school? What did you think about Vegas? What was there something that we're going to want to do? Do we want to, vacation there is one thing.
Oh yeah.
There, driving around when you saw everything, I was like, oh yeah, we'll get back there. Not even 6 months later, the AV designer position pops up and came across my higher ed feed, and I applied, and I had a call back like 3 hours after my interview. My letter went in. 3 hours later, I got an email saying that I'm ready for an interview. And I'm like, I just sent it like a day ago.
Yeah.
So I had a phone interview. It was before, this is 2012.
Yeah.
This was prior to doing Zoom and FaceTime calls, right? So I did the first one over the phone. I did the second one over the phone. And after the second one, they sent me plane tickets and said, here you go, and got me on a plane. I flew out, had the interview, another 8-hour process, did the whole spiel, and got the job. So, so you have to keep trying. If you go and get the first turn down, you're never going to move forward if you don't keep knocking on doors, right? So, I applied for a job at Emory University years ago. John Hamilton now has that. The gentleman who got the job in place of me, who John later replaced. John and I spoke about it many, many times.
Yeah, I bet.
Same thing. Like, here I was trying to get to Georgia for some reason. Here I am trying to get to Vegas for some reason. If you're not willing to take a chance, you don't grow that way, So you have to take a chance every now and then. If you're not willing to take a chance, it's okay too, but you can't be upset with yourself or anyone else if you didn't.
Yeah.
Right.
A wise person once said, "Closed mouths don't get fed." Right.
Exactly.
So you got to do that. What I love about that's really cool to share, because you have this first experience and it ends up in not getting the job. Right. So you could look at it and be like, oh, there was this whole thing that happened and it didn't work out well or whatever. But whatever that process you went through, your wife asked such a great question. The process left you in a place that said, no, this is something of interest. I like the place. I like that experience. And then your impression you left, so you never know what the next thing that's going to come up is. And before you know it, you're right there, and you never know what the next opportunity is. So to have what some other people might, from the outside, you'd be like, well, that was a failed attempt. Set up the next success, and you never know when that's going to be what happens in these sorts of things.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing. Like if you can interview, just get an interview with any position, whether you want it or not.
Yeah,
that's the experience you need.
Yeah,
and then if you happen to have got to the next round, you get to the next round. If you don't, you don't. Gotta take your shots.
Yeah, I'll give that advice, and I give that advice to people. I haven't done a little bit, but I would tell people, even if you love where you are, you should apply for a job once a year somewhere. Go through the experience, do that, especially if you're someone who hires. When I moved into this role and I knew I was going to be bringing on 3 new managers, right? Before that happened, I applied for jobs and interviewed to just put myself on the other side of the table, see how other people were doing it, and have that experience so that I could be a better interviewer and selector of people. So
I've been on so many committees here, not just for my team hiring, but other folks on campus. And we do things a little differently here at UNLV than most places. 12 years ago, it was an 8-hour process for me to get an interview here. Now, it really depends on the job. I've been on committees where it's a Zoom call, and it was a one and done, and they hired the person. And then there's one that it's 2 phones, a Zoom, it's an on campus. It depends on what it is. So that helps you tailor yourself for the future. If you're going to go to another location interview, you get you ready for all the different scenarios that they can throw at you.
Yeah, 100%. You don't want to find yourself out of practice when there's something you really want to land.
Yeah, you don't just sit there and read a script and answer. It's not that easy anymore. It's a completely different hiring process than from when we were growing up, I guess you could say.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so Frank, you are kind of a Mr. AV, right? Like, you are an AV dude through and through, it seems like, right? And that's how like, I don't know, you bleed red blood of the rebels and the audiovisual industry. So, but in the alternate universe where you don't end up working in higher ed or don't end up working in technology, what's something you think you would have liked to do or that you would have been good at?
To be honest with you, I probably would have went into, this is funny to say, I probably would have been a car salesman because I love cars. And I worked part-time at my cousin's dealerships growing up, and I was always washing cars or changing oil or doing whatever. So I was always around it. So probably something to do in the automotive industry would probably be somewhere where I probably would have ended up. Everybody says, "Oh, I want to be a baseball player." Well, I tried that, and I was a good baseball player for high school. I wasn't a good baseball player for the Yankees.
Yeah, exactly.
I was really good in Little League, but I'm not so good in the big leagues, right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I didn't want to be a fireman. I burned my hand once. I'm not going to run into a burning building. I lit the backyard on fire once. I couldn't put it out with the garden hose, so my fireman was out. So
How did you light your backyard on fire?
Yeah, playing with matches when you're 6 years old. You do
you
stuff
go.
like that, right?
Yeah, for sure. That's awesome.
But yeah, so it would probably be something like in the automotive world, something like that.
Nice. So is that is something you hear about for people like, not to bring up retirement again, but like, eventually people like, I mean, not that I'm old, but getting older by the day. And like, you think you start to count the years, work in public service, you kind of know what that's going to look like. Like working on cars and doing like stuff like that is something that, comes around for people in retirement and hobbies like that. Do you see yourself like building your stuff in your own garage and just
No.
keeping that going? No.
No, I got a Jeep and I play with my Jeep and that's it. I mean, I'd still take it to the dealership for the oil change because it's a pain in the butt.
Yeah.
I just had a lift kit put on it. I had someone else do it because I'm not crawling under there. I'll tinker, I'll play, I'll add some things here and there. I'd sooner just go camping with it and call it a day.
There you go.
Okay. So yeah.
Yeah, you use the car for what it's for.
Right.
Not,
I'll get in there and I'll sell you a car. I don't need to get in there and how to fix the car.
Nice. All right. Well, and you mentioned, so I know that about you, is that you do like to go camping. You like to be out and about with your wife, with your dog, who is awesome. And, and I know you got a pretty good friend group that you do stuff like that with. So what is it about kind of camping and being out in, I don't know if the wilderness that draws you to it?
We were actually just this weekend, Memorial Day weekend, we went camping. Nice. And it was funny. We got done setting up camp. Took a little longer. My wife and I let's put it this way. There's 2 cars.
Wow.
So yeah. So there's two of us and stuff because we have to bring everything with us, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we get done setting up and I finally sat down in front of the fire and I had a beer and I'm sitting there and I looked at her and I just said, I remember that line from the movie The Great Outdoors when Dan Aykroyd looks at him and he says, so why do you want to go to a planet-infested no man's land and live like a barbarian for a week? Yeah. I'm sitting there, I'm filthy dirty. I'm there for 2 hours setting up. I'm already a mess. I'm aggravated. The tent was getting me aggravated. But
yeah.
2 days later, tear it all down, do it all over again. And I look at my buddy and I was like, so why do we do this again? He goes, because we weren't in the office and it's fun. And
all right.
All right. I guess so. I mean, it's just like, I had 0 service. You had to walk 2 miles to get cell phone service, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. So you get left alone and you unplug your head for a little bit and you try to relax,
Yeah.
You deal with the weather if it comes. But
yeah, I mean, the joke is right. Like I work hard to make sure my mortgage is paid and I don't have to be homeless. Why am I going to go play homeless, out there? But
that's true.
But there's something different when you got a little downtime in your own house, right? There's a chore to be done. There's something you've been putting off. There's this and there's that, right? Yeah. And there's just something different about being away that, your brain chemistry is just a little different, I think. So
yeah, you buy all this gear for your rig. You want to at least take it out on a trail, right? Yeah. Like you can't just sit there and let it look pretty in the garage.
Well, I mean, I could probably do that, but I don't think you could do that. You know what I'm saying? Nice. Okay, so here, question for you. What is the highest level you've ever jumped from?
About 300 feet. I bungee jumped.
Okay.
Ocean City, Maryland, back in the day.
What was that like?
I was young and stupid and half in the bag, so you don't think about it. I will say, I nearly fell, once.
Mm-hmm.
It scared me more than jumping.
Yeah.
When I was 20 and or 19 and jumping, I'll do it.
Yeah.
When I was 27 and I slipped and almost fell 50 feet, that new Frank won't go back up that ladder. I have a new afraid of heights thing
that came from that. So
like,
was it a ladder?
Here we went to the top of the stratosphere and I'm riding a roller coaster and I'm fine. Yeah. I'm fine.
Yeah.
Right. But then after that, I'm up inside that stratosphere and I'm inside the restaurant and I won't even go to the glass now. Like now,
man,
the world, because it was out of my control. I slipped. I was carrying a camera up a ladder at the racetrack that was at Mohegan Sun. And when I was going from the ladder to the booth transported in, there was a gap and it was raining and I slipped and my legs dangled and I crawled into the thing and I laid on my belly and I called my boss on the phone. I was like, you got to come get me because I can't come down the ladder. So that was the day that yeah, the slipping and falling is not jumping,
Jeez.
that's for sure.
Now that is that full adrenaline reaction, the full
Water
fight
hits
or
your face.
flight.
Yep.
Yeah. But that, I mean, I guess, right? That's the evolutionary thing. That's what it's supposed to do. You have that experience, and man, you will not put yourself in that same danger again.
No, 21 years old, working at Marywood when I started. I was crawling on the catwalk across the
Yeah.
stage, humping wires across, doing
Yeah.
if I fall and
Exactly.
hit the rubber, I'll bounce, I'll fix it, rub some dirt on it.
Yeah.
Not now.
No, man. No, you're totally right. Yeah, that's a better question. Is not how high have you jumped from, how high have you almost fallen from? Because that's a whole other experience right
Yeah.
there. No, no kidding. No kidding. Okay. So this is a question I like to ask of people, and I'm curious of your answer for it, because sometimes I think I can predict where people would be and sometimes not. So, do you believe that people are generally good with a proclivity for evil, or generally evil with a proclivity for good?
Oh no, most people are good. Evil's taught. I mean,
Yeah.
you, it's really got to be in there for someone to be evil from birth. It's like a dog. I could teach a Chihuahua to rip your hand off just as I could teach a pit bull to do it. It's not the dog's fault. It's the way the dog was raised. It's the environment the dog was in. With people, I think it's the same way.
Okay. So how does that inform, like, obviously we talked a lot in the first episode about how you like work with your team and do stuff like that. Does that perspective on people kind of change how you decision make, move through the world in personal and professional areas, things like that?
No, I think, like I said earlier, I think, like I tell my guys, don't do dumb things, right? So as long as you're using your head and what you're doing is for the better and for the good of the university and for moving forward, I think anything like that, it's not a matter of good or evil. It's a matter of plus or minus, right? Is this gonna advance our university footprint, or is this gonna make us take a couple steps back to recalibrate and then move forward, right? So I I don't think there's anything that's ill. I don't think anybody has any ill will when it comes to sabotaging their job.
Right.
But I do think there are people out there that would like to sabotage others. There is definitely some folks that do not like people being successful, and they get jealous. That jealousy to me is worse than someone being evil.
Yeah.
Because evil, you can usually see it coming,
Yeah.
and jealousy you can't. Sorry about that. I'm getting my call from one of my vendors.
Well, I mean, let's pick them up. Let's put them on the show. You know what
Oh,
I'm
I don't think we want to do that.
saying? All right.
That's gonna be a oh, where's my guy type of call right there.
Got it. Yeah, no, so it's interesting. So you're right. Like, jealousy can motivate behavior that, like, you know, people might not otherwise do. And like I said, it might not seem like, it's evil because,
Yeah.
like I said, you can see that coming. But yeah, jealousy can be a motivator. So it feels like, didn't you and I discuss having to dangle a consultant off a hotel balcony at an event one time? I can't remember exactly what that was
We
about.
did, but I don't think we want to go down the
All
road
right, that's
here.
probably not worth doing that. But that I feel like there was a little bit of that twinge in there. I'm just saying I wouldn't get on the wrong side of Frank Alaimo if I were you. If I were one piece of advice I would have for people, you know what I'm saying?
I tell folks, and I tell this to my any like companies that want to come and do business with us, right? I'm the easiest and the toughest customer you're ever going to deal with.
Yeah.
Myself and my team know exactly what we want, and we usually know more than you do.
Right.
Because,
Right.
and I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean that on how we want our campus to operate.
Right.
You can't come here and try and sell me.
Right.
You can't come here and try and sell my guys. You can come and bring a product and tell us what it can do, but don't try and tell me how I'm going to redo my classrooms to make this box better.
Right.
That ain't going to happen.
Yeah.
What I have is folks like Epiphan who will come to us, say, Frank, help us design this box.
Exactly.
Tell
Yeah.
us what we're doing wrong. Tell us where we need help. And that's why we have good partners. And that's why it's not difficult to be a client or a customer or a Frank, but we know what we want, and we're very staunch about it, because I don't have time for bull. I don't.
Yeah.
Tell me what works. Tell me what doesn't. Let my guys choose it. If they select it, they have to support it. That's the rule.
Yeah.
So it's not any different than just like cutting through the bull, right? Like, None of us have time to waste. I'm not going to waste your time. You're not going to waste my time. And I just get that. I put that out right from the beginning. And that's why people know I'm no nonsense. I don't have time for it.
Yeah, but there's a saying that is clear is kind, right? And
Right.
it feels like you articulated what here is a clear set of expectations, right? So I can now those expectations may be high, but you're going to know what they are. So
Right.
I may be hard. You can think I'm hard if I got high expectations, but I'm going to make it easier for you to be a success because you're not going to get surprised. You're going to know what it
And
is.
I mean, I'm as polite as I can be
Yeah.
until you send me an AI generated response, and then it's on.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
I've been getting too many of them lately. So any of these AI folks out here that want to keep adding it and adding it, look, it's still hungry for information,
Yeah.
and it's not dialed in yet. And I'm not hanging my hat on it because all it's doing is creating more angst for myself and
Hmm.
others. I want this. I need interaction. I need a phone call on the other end. And if you're gonna AI me to death, then you're not gonna be on this campus. You're not gonna be doing business with us.
Yeah, exactly.
I want you to come and spend time with my team, learn about our team, learn about our campus, and then we'll have a discussion about doing business together.
Yeah, I was talking with somebody yesterday that we've done a little work with, and they were talking about sort of the place they've been working, and they're transitioning over now to something like that they are owning with some other people. You know what I'm saying? It was,
Yeah.
and you could see they were fishing out a little for like doing business with the company versus, and I was like, no, I do business with people, right? Like the name on the company, fine. I do business with the people based on what you've delivered, how you, and to your point, like how you listen, how you trust. And you said before, like, we know what we want and we probably know better than you. And like you said, you're not trying to be, that's not trying to be insulting or anything, but
Right.
you're going like, we we live here every day. We know our campus. We know our customers. We also are trained. We are also industry veterans of our own in our own thing. We bring that excellence to this thing. So we I'm looking for, like you said, that interaction of someone I can say I can put the reputation of me and my team on this person's shoulders, and they can do it back for me, and that one of us can't be successful unless we're both successful.
Right.
And you can tell the difference between people who work with you like that versus the people who try and sell you something. As long as I get that signature and that PO out the door, that's all I'm really worried about.
Right. And we both know there's people out there that absolutely have higher ed's back.
Yep.
And there's people out there that not so much. It's what can I sell you today?
Yeah.
It's like, how many units are you buying? Like, no, no. And don't go to my integrator. Don't go around me and try to go to my integrator and say, how do I get on Frank's campus? And we're like,
Right.
whoa, that's not the first way to do it.
Yeah,
That should be for
exactly.
any one of our campuses. That's not the way to do it. I mean, so any vendors or integrators or manufacturers out there listening to this, do your homework before you go knocking on somebody's door.
Yeah.
It does not work to go and cold call people that are probably smarter than you when it comes to what you're trying to sell.
Yeah, exactly. And I love how much that has come full forward for like what the industry would call end users, right? They would, because basically we're the end buyer. You know what I'm saying? I'm not an end user. I build
Correct.
classrooms for other people to use.
Correct.
I'm still a middle, so where that sort of in-house integrator or whatever the term is doesn't matter. But that idea that like we're not leaving ourselves in a place where we're dependent upon an integrators or consultants to tell us what is best.
Right.
We are going to occupy that space.
Yeah.
And the companies and people who've responded to that have really made a mark, which go like, no, we can rely on people like Frank to help us develop the next product because we know it will be tailored for the things that higher ed needs.
Yeah.
And from there comes the units of sale measure, not the other way around. You know what I'm saying? So
It's a higher ed. We're a tough nut to crack, especially since HETMA has exploded like it has. We have such a vast amount of resources against each other that we could pull, so much information about.
Yep.
If I'm going to buy something or I'm going to go with this new software, I'm going to reach out to 8 or 9 of my cohorts and say, hey, do you guys use this? Does it work? Does it not work? So and so, because I'm not going to buy it if someone else said that's trash, get rid of it.
Yeah.
I'm just not going to do it because why should I go through the same pains that they've already went through? You know, if there's one person that's upset and there's 9 people that are happy with it, I'm going to listen to the 9. But if 9 people come back and say that stuff is garbage, run away from it, I'm going to run, right?
Yeah.
So that's essentially what, the easiest part for us is we have a pool of resources.
Yeah. Like when we talk about it as a community, that's really a place where it comes to fruition, right? For big school, small school, it doesn't matter. There is a share, a wealth of knowledge of real world experience from people that, what I'm saying, you can trust.
Yeah.
And
What was last year's number at Infocom? They said what was it, like 40% were the end buyers or end
right.
users,
Yeah.
right? Of that
It was in the high 30s.
40%, almost 3/4 of that was higher ed.
Yeah, for
Like,
sure.
holy crap.
No, if you look at, walk the floor, look at badges, right?
Yep.
And end users are more likely to have a school name on them than they are a corporate, for it to say Bank of America or this airline or something like that.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And hence why, so much stuff now is geared for us at those shows because I just love it. It has that feeling of we've chosen to occupy our space in the industry. You know what I'm saying? And we're not just going to be customers. We're going to be full-fledged participants. And look, we need great manufacturers to make us successful. We need great stuff for us to bring to our people. And they need us to buy stuff when they make great stuff. So, man, we just turn out a better product and the industry does better when...
The ones that listen to us,
Exactly.
You know who they are.
Yeah.
Right off the bat. If they have a council or if they have meetings or if they're involved with us and they're asking the questions, that's the one I want. It's the one that just shows up out of nowhere and you got some young hard charger behind the table trying to sell you something that he can't even explain to me what it is.
Yeah. All right. Well, I couldn't agree more. And I would say thank you for the work that you do in that effort, right? You are absolutely one of the people that has embraced that and taken the time to say, like, I am going to be a full participant in the industry. I am going to take my time and effort to help people make products that will help everybody, and so school and the rest of us get to benefit from that. So thank you for doing
I've taken a few hits over the years.
Well,
my mouth could get me into trouble just like as much as it could save me, right? So there's many a time I've been grabbed by the collar and pulled off the show floor at Infocom by one of my coworkers said, "Hey, I think it's time to go for a walk."
Yeah, exactly. Well, there's another old saying, right? It was just if they're shooting at you, you're doing something right. You know what I'm saying? Like you've never if change makes somebody uncomfortable all the time, so don't shy away from that. Okay, all right. So we're almost at a half hour again. Like you said, I could do this all day. This is fun. Okay, same last 3 questions for everybody here. Third to last question is: what is a question you wish people would ask you but nobody ever does?
Oh, wow, whoa, wow! That you really got me out of nowhere on that one. I wish people would ask me how to pronounce my name before they say it.
Ah,
So, yeah.
that's a good one. So let me add. So now I'm a little afraid because I said it
You got it.
with confidence, and I'm pretty sure Alaimo, like I'm in. But for a second there, I was like, "Oh my God, did I do it wrong?"
Yeah, that second A is kind of hidden in there. It's my
the AI. There's a
my
line.
grandfather used to say it used to be Alaimo, but
Oh,
when they got to the States, they just made it Alaimo. But
So
I don't understand where Alamino comes in. There's no at the end of the name. I mean, come on.
yeah, you're getting. Well, that's how you know an AI generated it is when you get an Frankie Alamino over there.
Yeah.
That's a crime family name if I've ever had.
Well, that's another podcast.
Yeah, that's a whole other conversation. Well, dude, so everybody remember, Alaimo. What other variants do you get every once in a while?
Oh, the Alamino is the worst one. Alamo.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
it's
Alamo.
really close to Alamo. My wife, her name's Angelica, and she spells it with a K. They call her Angelica.
Yeah.
So yeah,
That's almost the Key and Peele skit right there of people the guy getting all the names. Yeah, Jake Quellen. There you go. Yeah, all right. Yeah, I was in San Antonio and I forgot to take a picture of the Alamo and be like, hey, you'd send it to you. Be like, look, I found your building. Okay. That's awesome. All right. Alaimo it is from here on out. Second to last question, which is if people wanted to get connected with you or learn more about UNLV and all the things you're working on, how would they go about doing that?
Go to LinkedIn. Just type my name in for LinkedIn. It's Frank Alaimo. And yeah, you'll find me, and just look at my post. You'll see everything that we're doing here.
Yeah.
Or you can just Google my name and UNLV, and you'll probably find 30 or 40 write-ups about our school.
Yeah, there's like I said, a very active. You are a must follow in the AV industry. There's no doubt about that. So everybody, if you're not following, follow Frank right now.
I do get stalked by the occasional salesperson, let's say.
Well, yeah, that's a very there are a lot of those out there.
Yeah.
All right, yeah, and let's talk about obviously AI generated LinkedIn message reach out. Like, don't do that.
No,
that's so many of those. Don't do that. Okay, now we're getting off topic. All right, final question, same for everybody, which is the old time newscasters. All used to kind of have a phrase they would close their broadcast with, like "good night and good luck," or weekend update on Saturday Night Live. I'm Chevy Chasing, you're not, or something like that. So, what is Frank Alaimo's drop the mic sign off phrase?
If you're reading this, it's already too late.
That's pretty good. What does that mean to you?
So it was during COVID. My guys, I kept saying this was going to happen, and this was going to happen, and this was going to happen. So they actually had a shirt made and said Frank was right, and on the back it said, if you're reading this, it's too late.
Thank you for listening to the AV IT Amplifier. Join us again for next week's episode when we'll welcome a new guest who you'll want to hear from. We promise. Your host has been Ryan Gray. He's on the tweeters at Ryan_A_Gray, or find him on LinkedIn to connect. Please subscribe and give the show a rating and review wherever you get your podcasts. This show is brought to you by higheredav.com. The views expressed here are not necessarily those of our respective institutions, employers, or sponsors. Everyone hang in there, go easy, and we'll be back next week.